Most of the time when I cover games on this channel, I tend to go back and revisit for the sake of just checking out what's been added to them. Some games have little to no major improvements, and other oftentimes change their direction completely. Now, this low poly survival game in particular has been covered on my channel for more than once. And despite me making videos on this title over and over again, there's always something new about this game all the time. I always thought criticizing something is a lot easier than giving compliments, because when something is already great, it speaks value from the very beginning and leaves little to no room for conversations. But in this video, I think it's very important to address the work ethic that has gone into this low poly survival game. This project is not even a year old, and based on the changes and new additions to the game, this is literally probably the best low poly survival game I've ever laid my hands on. If you're new to Surround Dead and you'd like to see the original video covering the first initial stages of the game, I will leave a timeline for that specific video for you. But the sole purpose for this video is to assume that you already tried this game previously, wasn't very thrilled by it, and now you're returning back just to see what's been changed. And if that's you, well, congratulations, you found the right video. With the 1.3.8 update, we were introduced to a few new elements of the game, not least of which will be the new medical system. The player can now bleed and break legs. These injuries can be healed with different medical items found throughout the world, or just simply be crafted with a workbench near you. As you can only imagine, different injuries will impact your character in different ways. Heavy bleeding will result in more damage with a shorter time span. Broken bones will prevent your character from running and jumping. Pretty simple, right? Radiation on its own was implemented a while back, but for those of you unaware, radiation will gradually kill you if you enter the radiation zone unprepared, meaning no gas mask. Also a while back, we were introduced to scavengers on the map, and those are AIs simply located around the world with loot around them, and they do have guns, which was honestly an amazing touch, because Surround Dead is to this day not a multiplayer game. As of right now, that is, not that it's not going to happen, and having something that could shoot back at you is a very nice feeling. On top of that, we were also introduced to a new threat, which are the zombie hounds, and those can be encountered in radiation zones. I personally haven't seen them anywhere else, and I'm kind of glad I haven't, but I will also not be surprised if you will encounter them somewhere else on the map. Surround Dead now has a vicinity container near the player's inventory slot, and that's pretty much what you would see in DayZ. For instance, if there are items near you, instead of looking around and having a chance of missing it, you can simply just open your inventory and you can see exactly what's around your character. Very beautifully done. Some consumable items will now have negative value to them. They will not make you sick or anything, as of right now that is, but some of them will definitely be more effective than others. You can now crouch and sprint at the same time, which will also allow you to move more efficiently. We also have been introduced to the new items in the game, and here's just a few of them. Splint, which will fix your bones. Civilian medkits, which are not as effective but still will get the job done. Military medkits. Auto injector, which will increase energy and health. Tuna, sardines, milk, cereal, and last but certainly not least, a turret, which can be crafted and placed near your base. Surround Dead now has a very unique and yet extensive loot system options. You can adjust your loot spawns, zombie spawns, and your XP gain, pretty much allowing you to modify your game to your taste, if you will. It gets pretty extensive, and I'm not gonna go in detail and just waste your time. You can always just go and test it for yourself if you have the game, but I will say it's definitely worth checking out, especially if you like to modify your game style. Definitely worth playing around with. You can now fish in Surround Dead and use that as your food source, or you can simply just sell it and get some cash in return. Cash is very useful in Surround Dead, and having a lot of it is always a nice thing. We have also been introduced to a few new locations on the map. I will not spoil them for you. Some of them are dangerous than others, but they're definitely worth checking out as well. Just heads up, the map is not fully unlocked yet. I mean, you can go pretty much anywhere you want on the map, but some locations are pretty much just empty. You'll see buildings around them, but there's nothing else to it. Something that came along with 1.3.4 update was the new Infestation system. Randomly around the map, piles of bodies will spawn, and by destroying them, you will gain a pretty good amount of XP points as well as a good loot. There's also a new vendor that randomly spawns in save zones that will always sell credits to players. And all of these things I just mentioned are simply new additions to the game. The developer has released a crap ton of patches and bug fixes. Feel free to pause the video and just check them out. I'm not gonna go in details and cover every single one of them. And what amazes me even more is that this solo developer is planning to release so much more to it. At some point we will have quests and bounties, improved firearm customization, character customization, melee weapon customization, motorbikes, travel system between different campsites, improved weather system, which will then, force you to have a proper gear and loot. You wouldn't be just able to run around in the wintertime with a t-shirt, which also means your stuff can be damaged. Then also, as I mentioned earlier at the beginning of this video, we're gonna have a multiplayer mode, Steam Workshop, which means players could start modding the game at some point. Vehicle modification, base building improvements. Now this is just a side note, and this is kind of something I wish we could have, but I personally think it would be pretty cool if we could have a base building options the way it is set up currently in Rust. So we could build foundations, walls, and roofs based on a player's discretion, without any limitations as far as creativity applies. I strongly believe this game is going to be huge one day. This is all done by a solo developer. Based on his work ethic, I can only imagine that he does this full time, and if not, then just kill me. He does wonders when it comes to the game development. Surrounded was released in the summer. It'll soon be a whole year. It's coming up. It's actually right around the corner. So I wonder if the game will take a huge turn. Not that it hasn't already, but I wonder if we're gonna get like some sort of big patch or update to make the game just more immersive. You already know what to do. If you enjoyed this type of content, show me some thumbs up. Subscribe for future content like this. If you hesitated up until this point to buy this game, or simply took a break from it, I'd say you should probably revisit it at the very least, because you're definitely missing out. This was your boy Roos, and I'm out. Goodbye.